This time I have a Sony BPDS350. This is a Blu-ray player, and the complaint on this one is that the disc drawer doesn't open. So, is it a belt or is it something else? I guess we're going to have to open it up and find out. Complaint on this is that it doesn't work. It doesn't open. So let's find out why. To get into the unit, there's 2 screws on the side and 3 in the back that need to come out. Despite owning one of these myself, I've never been into one. In fact, I have one sitting right beside me that I was using for test material. As you can see, these units are actually quite packed with components. There's not a lot of space. Unlike some units where you open them up and there's just nothing there, this one's actually got a fair bit of stuff in it. It's got 3 circuit boards here, power supply board separate, and of course the Blu-ray drive, which is where the problem is going to be on this because it's not opening. It could very well just be a belt that is slipping, more than likely, but we got to get to that belt first. Looking into the top, it looks like this just has a standard BD drive. It's got your standard the S serial ATA connector over here. You can unplug. Right, looks to be a standard serial ATA. It's held in place by 4 screws, but it's got this bracket on the side which is attached to both of these boards, which means that these boards probably have to come out to get at this. So in other words, taking the drive out to do any type of maintenance work is probably going to be a little bit more involved than many would like. If I undo the connectors here, take off the wires, free up some space, I should be able to remove this drive without too much of an effort. There's 4 screws, it looks like, that hold it in place down here, and I've got that one there and this one here, and I don't know whether I'll be able to slip the drive out without having to remove those boards or not, but we'll try removing the obvious screws and see if I can get the drive out without disturbing anything I don't have to. That's funny because I got the same, as I said, I've got the same one sitting beside me on my bench here that I've been using for years just to play some content on and for testing. Although it's stuff I haven't really been using much because some of the sites that I downloaded from, like Lounge V, for example, have changed their policy as far as copyright goes, and they don't allow it to be reshared. You can use it all you want, but you can't include it in anything on social media. So I haven't been showing that content in a number of years, but I've got it on a disc that I use for testing TVs. Let's see if I can take out these screws and maybe remove this bracket so I don't have to take out these other boards. So can I get these screws out? Should be able to get these screws out, I think. I can remove these 2, then I don't have to disturb the boards. Nice thing about this unit is it plays AVC HD, so you can actually record high definition content onto a standard DVD-R and it will play them in full HD. Now I should be able to remove this bracket, maybe not, or at least remove the drive. I have to remove the front cover just so that I can see what's in behind here. brackets off, out of the way. What is holding the drive? Probably this front bracket may have to come off. Kind of looks like this front bracket's got to come off, and there are arrow mark screws on here too, indicating that it may have to come off. So we'll just remove the arrow mark screws. Although this may seem a little bit drawn out to some, I'm showing you what needs to come off to take this unit apart. So this may run a little dry for some, but for others that want to try and do this service, because I think this service is something that's going to have to be done on all of these. I don't imagine this has to come off by much, just enough to clear the drive itself. It's quite the procedure to get into this one to actually get to the part that needs to be serviced. More than likely I've got to take the display board off. Unplug this one. Unplug this ribbon here. Remove the tape. And remove the display board. Board out of the way, unplug it. What else is holding this? Oh, one more screw down here. That's attaching this front panel to the board. I may not have had to take off the display, but it certainly will make it easier if I can just take this whole piece out of here. I'll just unplug this one back here. There. Leave it plugged into here. Okay, now that I can move that out of the way, now the drive will lift out a little bit easier, and there is a power connector, it looks like. Oh, there's a wire taped down to the bottom. Yeah, the power connector goes in the back over here on this one. Plugs into the power supply board. We can undo it there. Okay, now I've got the drive free. Now I can go about and open the drive and find the most likely culprit, which will be a belt that is likely slipping. So looks like there's a bunch of screws on the bottom here that we'll remove. I've got two of these to service, different models. So I'd be curious to see whether the other model is the same drive as this. And two smaller screws. Okay, that should lift the top off, I believe. Oh, two more screws in the back. Sony really overdid it with this, didn't it? They call this the BPD350 drive. There's the bottom. Bottom comes off just like that. I'm sure there's a belt probably on this. In fact, I can pretty much guarantee it. You can see where it goes around there. Unlike computer drives, which usually have a place you can push a screwdriver or a pin in to open the drive, this one doesn't appear to have such a luxury. Should be able to lift the top off here somehow. Guess it lifts off or lifts out. And to answer your question, no, I've never taken one of these apart before. Doesn't look like they're designed to be serviced, does it? Okay, there's the top off. Oh, cool. Dual lasers. It actually has two separate lenses on this optical pickup. This is the first one of these I've actually torn apart. And I still can't get at the belt that is no doubtably going to be worn out. That's going to be the loading motor there. That belt is going to be right in here, but I think I got to get the tray to open first before I can even access it. And yes, I know I can apply a voltage to the motor, but if the belt is slipping, that really won't help me now, will it? If this in fact has a belt, it might be a gear drive. Looking at the way that these are laid out, this might not be a belt. It might be a direct gear drive that's slipping, like due to a cracked gear or something. 2.5 volts on the power supply. Let's just see whether it will open or close. I don't know which polarity to go here, so we'll try this one first. Oh, wait a minute. My current is down at like... My current is limited down to like 10 milliamps. We'll limit the current at like 0.5 amp. Okay, will it open? Not doing anything that polarity. Let's try this one. Okay, I think that something moved there. Does this lever move by chance? Is this what we moved to? Oh, okay. We might be able to do it this way. Looks like there, that's what we move. That's the lever that gets moved to open this up. And it looks like, yeah, there is a belt in there. I can see it right down there. Now, how to get at that belt, to change it, that is going to be the fun part. So that's how you open these up. You push this lever over like that. But again, without taking the drive apart, there's no way to even get at that. So you pull the lever over, and that'll start to eject the disc tray, so that you can pull the tray open. That comes out like that. And then this should lift out at some point. You can see the belt right on this pulley here. So we drop the chucking mechanism. This should lift out. Ow. Should just lift up like this and then slide out. Okay, I can get at the belt there. There's the belt. I can just flip this old belt off and see if I can find something of a reasonable facsimile that will replace this worn slipping belt, and then we can try to reassemble this. A little more work than say the run-of-the-mill DVD player, that's for sure. Okay, it's not a point of the belt slipping. The real problem on this is the pulley has developed a crack. You can see it right there. You see the crack in the pulley. Maybe you can't see it because there's too much light in there, but there's a crack in the pulley. What's happening on this case is it's not that the belt is slipping, it's actually that the motor spindle is spinning in the pulley itself. So the way to fix this one will be obviously to glue the pulley to the shaft. So I'm going to use some JB Weld. It's got the tiniest amount of JB Weld because we don't need much. And usually how I mix it up, either on a piece of paper, or in this case I've just taken a piece of tape and stuck it to the bench, because then I can remove it and dispose of it and not have epoxy all over the place. Piece of paper will also work just as well, but I didn't have a spare piece of paper kicking around here. I didn't feel like going and looking for one. So I just used a piece of tape. It works the same way. So I mix up a little tiny bit of epoxy. Say we don't need much. And I'm using JB Weld this time, which is some of the stronger of the epoxies. Mix it up. And we'll take the smallest amount, and we'll just put a tiny little bit on top of the spindle, onto the motor, onto the pulley. So put a little onto the spindle and onto the pulley, and then I'm going to set the pulley down and set it to the approximate height, and then put a little bit more on the top. This way the epoxy is getting into, like, right onto the shaft and into the hole, onto the motor, or onto the pulley itself. Bring that down to the approximate height of where the belt needs to be, and then we'll just put a tiny bit more on the top. To fuse the plastic pulley to the top of the metal shaft. Then we're going to let this set for a few minutes. It's a 5-minute quick set epoxy, so it won't take that long. So we're going to let it set up, and while we're setting it up, I can clean up my mess. It's the beauty of having it on a piece of tape, is then I can just wipe my screwdriver on there and then just roll it up and throw it away. While we're waiting for the epoxy to set up, I'll just give this switch a little shot of neutral cleaner. That's more than enough. And we'll work the switch back and forth a few times. That's just to make sure that this door open close switch is clean. And we can of course inspect the lubrication on the worm gear. It looks okay. Same with here. Yeah, still the rails are still fairly slippery, so I don't anticipate any problems with that at this point, although we could certainly put some Molykote grease on here, but I don't think it's necessary. This still turns, or still moves very, 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 very easily. Okay, pulley is now attached permanently. Not coming off now. Put the belt back on. go. Now I gotta get this slider gear back into position. Slides in like that. Operates the switch over here, as you can see. Now I should be able to slide back in the tray. It's going to slide in here. There's a pin here that lines up with the edge of the bring that back like that, and this should go in just like that. And now this will raise the pickup, and then we can lower the pickup, and that will open. So that's back together, that part. Now put the top back on with the clamp. Drops on just like that. That actually went on really easy compared to how it came apart. And then the bottom should go on just as easy. Just like that. Put the 8 screws back in, and then I can start reassembling the unit. Screws go in these holes here. I love this little screwdriver. It's great. One of the products I actually got, but that I actually use. I guess it's pronounced Secure. It's been a great little accessory. It comes in very handy. Time to remount the actual drive. So we've got our power connector that goes in the back. Now that I know how the drive came out, I'll probably put this bracket back in, and it'll be easier to reattach it to the the two boards now that I know which screws have to come out. These ones probably didn't have to, because the drive should be able to lift out from the side here. So I can plug in the data connector again. I should be able to slip this in under the boards like that. Slip this one in under this one. Just like that. Now reattach the drive. And the board. Reinsert the power connector and the fan and so forth. Fan plugs in over here. And then the front board can go back on, or the front bracket can go back on. Place the rest of the screws. Put the front cabinet piece on. Reattach the front board. And that, I think I've got everything plugged in. I should be able to open this thing up now without even putting the front face on. Give it power. Turn it on. Weight comes up on the screen, as you can see, as it's booting up. And the open close button is over here. Welcome. Voila, it opens. Put a disc in it and we'll try it out. I have a Blu-ray disc that I made. This is just stuff that I downloaded off of YouTube, so I can't show this very long because much of this stuff now has probably got copyright on it. When I downloaded it, it didn't. But there's a real Blu-ray, a BDR disc. I should burn some of my stuff. That's what I should do. To burn some of my content onto a Blu-ray disc. Maybe I will. Close it. We'll see if it plays. It knows it's a BDR disc and it's a video disc. So if I press the play button, there we go. It's playing. Which I knew it would, because the problem with this was it wouldn't open. If I press the fast forward button on my remote here, I can go up multiple speeds. There, that'll avoid any hits, right? I always like Sony's simplistic approach to the mechanism for the drawer. It just, the whole front just lifts down. The drawer just basically pops this thing right open. So it makes it real simple. And it just snaps back on. Just like that. Of course, I stopped it from playing in the process. But now the drawer opens. So that's what happens when you get one of these Blu-ray players that won't open. And everybody thinks, oh, it's just a belt. Well, good chance it's not a belt. It's a good chance it's a broken gear, or either a broken gear, some of them use direct drive, and the gear cracks. In this case, it was a cracked pulley. The reason that this breaks like this, and it's going to continue to be a problem as these machines age, is because there's well, first of all, the nylon they used over time starts to shrink. That's part of the problem. The second part of the problem is the thermal expansion is different between the metal and the plastic. And since the plastic expands and contracts faster than metal when it's cold, the plastic contracts, and that causes the fit to become tighter and tighter, which plastic is what gets brittle and it breaks. So it's a couple things. It's shrinkage of the plastic, and also the fact that the metal expands at a different rate than plastic. And when you fix it like this, it's never going to break again. So that's how you do it. That's how you fix these ones. Anyway, you guys I don't think you need to see me put the top on it. Maybe we'll try a couple of other types of discs in here, just make sure it plays them all, and then we'll finish up the video. I had an old scratched up DVD here. This was one that I burned a while back as a test disc and just left it exposed to see how like I just left this out exposed to light, and you know, didn't care for it. I just made a recording on it. It's just an aquarium, and I want to see how much abuse a DVD could take and still play. Let's see if this machine will play this disc. So this is just a standard DVD. As you can see, even a disc that's all badly scratched up like that actually still plays. You have to really abuse a disc badly to make it not play. And this disc is this disc was recorded over 20 years ago, and it still plays. What I found really kind of funny. This is actually a production that I did. This is a commercial video that I did of an aquarium that I shot many years ago. I used to sell this on eBay before YouTube. Before YouTube became even a thing. This is going back to the early days of recordable DVD, and I used to sell this disc on eBay for $9.99. And this was a working copy that was never sold. So this has got to be 20 years old at least. The early, either late 90s or early 2000s. I think late 90s. This would have been recorded at the time on my computer. I would have burned this on my computer, and because there's no menus on it, it just goes right into playback. So this was not recorded on like a standalone machine or anything. I recorded it as a basically a pre-running disc. You put the disc in and it just plays, and it just repeats over and over and over again. And we actually, when I worked at the TV shop, we actually used this in the store as a demo. We just leave it playing on TVs. And anyway, it's old, and as you can see, it still plays. And it's all hacked up. Just gives you an idea of how robust DVDs are. This actually used to be silver, but you can see the reflective layer has changed color because it wasn't a gold disc. It was, at one time it was silver, but it's just been sitting so long, and yet there it is. It still works. Anyway, this one is done. Throw the top on this one, and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.